What's up? Welcome to the instant reaction to the Rams trading for Myles Garrett, presented by Prize Picks. We're your host, Cohn and Brandon Deutsch. First, it was the Rams beating the Niners to the punch for Matthew Stafford. That cost the Niners at least one Super Bowl. Now it's Myles Garrett, and it's not like the Niners couldn't afford him. They had the money, they had the cap space, they had the picks, they had the ability to make this trade happen. But the Rams made it happen because that's what the Rams do. So before we talk about what this means for LA, why don't we start this show by talking about what this trade means for the 49ers? Again, it's a first and Jared Verse to the Cleveland Browns for Myles Garrett.
I just think it shows that Lynch doesn't want to win a Super Bowl. I think that's number one. He's never beaten Les Snead to the jump. The only trade that he made that was great was Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams, by the way. But that was in the past. It's years ago. Your team has completely choked down the stretch of Super Bowls and NFC title games. You can blame injuries all you want, blame whatever. The Rams at least have the, how do I say this? The cojones to go and make moves like this. Like, they're like, cool, we'll get rid of our 27 first. We'll get rid of a Pro Bowl young talent in Jared Verse, and we'll go get the best defensive player in the league. Because even though we're already Super Bowl favorites, I want no doubt in people's mind that we're going to win the Super Bowl. We are going to win multiple Super Bowls. And John Lynch, again, sitting on his butt, not doing anything. Core is getting older. George Kittle's coming off of an Achilles injury. Trent Williams, 38, 39 years old. Christian McCaffrey's about to turn 30. And he's cool just saying, hey, we're going to sell tickets. The Rams are going to win their Super Bowl. Another team in our division winning a second Super Bowl since our last one. We have firsts for Max Crosby, but yeah, we're just not going to use him. And that shit pisses me off, honestly.
Again, as someone who grew up, I'm not a fan of the Niners anymore. I cover them. As someone who grew up a fan of the Niners in the 90s, this was the kind of move the Niners would do, or the Cowboys. Well, those were the two teams that were this aggressive. And now for the last 6, 7, 8 years, it's really been like the Rams and the Eagles that will do whatever it takes to win a Super Bowl. And I don't know. That's what I think you fans sort of should want from their team. Like, I don't want excuses. I don't want to hear that you have $72 million in cap space, but it's earmarked for something else. What are you talking about the future for? You've been on the doorstep of greatness for a long time, and you haven't done anything drastic to get over the hump. The Rams don't wait. Like, they got close last year, and they brought in not only Myles Garrett, but they brought in Trent McDuffie. And yes, you could say they wasted their first-round pick on a quarterback who won't contribute right away, but they also insulated themselves in case their 38, 39-year-old quarterback gets hurt for a month or two. It doesn't ruin their season theoretically. This is a team that, I would think most people would consider Super Bowl favorites, but we're going to talk about the Rams in a minute. Again, for the Niners, it's a little depressing. What are you going to do? Sign Joey Bosa and say we made our corresponding move? Like, why is this not a 49ers move? You trade the two of the best moves you've made in the John Lynch era, the Kyle Shanahan era, were trades, blockbusters for Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Did they not think the Browns would trade this guy? Did they not see that what was happening? I think it was pretty obvious.
And by the way, let it be known, this is a great trade for the Cleveland Browns as well. They're not close to being competitive.
Right.
They're going to win 4 or 5 games again. And they got a young Pro Bowler who's, he's not Myles Garrett, but he's still on his rookie contract, and a first in a coveted NFL draft, regardless of what that pick's going to be. Now they have more and more assets, and they get off of paying a guy $50 million a year that, doesn't fit their timeline, even though he's probably the best player to play for that franchise in a bazillion years, right? So let me just get that.
Why did the Browns trade Myles Garrett? For the same reason the Cowboys traded Micah Parsons, because he's the best player in the league and you still suck. So what's the point? Here are my prize picks for the 49ers 2026 season. Brock Purdy, 25.5 passing touchdowns, more or less. I'm going to say less. Christian McCaffrey, 974.5 rushing yards, more or less. I'm going to say less. Mike Evans, 924.5 receiving yards, more or less. That's a tough one. I'm going with less. Go to Prize Picks, use promo code HMA, play $5 and get 50 instantly in lineups. Again, that's code HMA. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
If I'm John Lynch, I'm calling the Raiders right now. I'm gonna be like, look, your division has 3 Super Bowl contenders in it.
You tried to trade
And
Max Crosby already.
yeah, let me give you know what? We're gonna be nice because Garrett just got traded and the price went up. We'll give you 2 first rounders. How do
Yep.
you feel about that? And we'll give
Yep.
you Renardo Green. Is that
Yep.
okay? You
I
tell me
would do
they
that.
won't take that? They would do that?
And I think you now you almost have to do that. If you just want to like play out the season and maybe go to the playoffs and have some meaningful games in January, then just stick with the team you have. But if you actually want to win the Super Bowl, the Rams just raise the stakes. And now you clearly don't have a good enough team to win this, at least on paper. The Rams would have to have a catastrophic number of injuries. So where's your corresponding move? Why not trade for Max Crosby unless you're just conceding the 2026 season and planning for the future? But again, if that's what you wanted to do, then why do you have the oldest team in the league? Why do you have Trent Williams? Why did you just give him a new deal? Like, now is the freaking time.
Yeah, and you kind of have to, right? You have to go make a move. And what pisses me off is their roster is built for 2026. It's a full rebuild happening in 2027, probably if stuff doesn't end up
Or
happening the right way.
2028. Yeah.
Or 2028, one of the 2 years, right? Why don't you just go all in? Say, hey, if you really liked Brock Purdy and he was your franchise quarterback, if you really trusted him, 50 plus $1 million a year, you wouldn't care trading that 2027 first because you're not looking for a quarterback in 2027, right? So why don't you trade the next 2 firsts for Max Crosby and go all in for 2026? And shit, maybe 2027 too.
Brandon, let me ask you this. Why do you think the Rams are the type of team that makes these moves and the Niners aren't?
Uh the short answer is I think they trust their coach more, and I think they trust their organization and GM more.
Look, what about this? I think that's part of it. I think the Niners are printing money right now. I think
Oh
the
yeah,
Niners are a more lucrative organization than the Rams. They have a much bigger fan base, and I think the Niners are kind of, what's the word? Content. Like, why should we go trade for Myles Garrett? It's expensive. And we may win a Super Bowl, we may not. Will we turn a bigger profit? Because we were already turning a profit. We're already selling out SoFi when we go on the road. Like, this is something I think the Rams are trying to do to develop their own championship culture so they actually have a fan base, which they kind of don't really have.
yeah.
And I think the Niners have this huge fan base and all these people telling them how great they are, whether they win a Super Bowl or not. There's not the same level of urgency. There's just not.
There's not, and another thing is like you're right about the lucrative part. I'm going to tell you right now. I said this on our last stream. People say the Niners are the Warriors. I'm going to take it a step up. I think they're the Lakers right now.
Mm.
They have no chance at winning a Super Bowl, but they have good
Mhm.
enough players. Well, they'll be super competitive. They'll win a ton of games. They'll be in the playoffs. The Warriors are just worse than that. They're a worse
True.
version of that. The
True.
Lakers at least make the playoffs. They make a ton of money. They have LeBron toward the end of his career, right? Like they're
They
probably
sell
going to sign.
jerseys. They have a big
Yeah, they're
fan
probably going to
base.
sign him back just so they make money because they can't
Yep.
beat the Spurs and Oklahoma City
Yep.
Thunder. That's how it feels like the 49ers
They're
are
good
operating right now.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, we're good enough. We're going to be
Yep.
competitive. We might beat the
Yep.
Rams in the regular season once, but we're not going to win a Super Bowl. But hey, we have Brock Purdy. Our fan base loves him. We're going to sell a ton of jerseys. We're going to make a ton of money. And we're cool with that for the next few years. And to me, I don't want my organization thinking like that. I don't want you to be a brand. The Cowboys have been a brand for 30 years. They've never made an NFC championship in that time, right? In 25 plus years. Like, I don't want to be
That's
the
why I
Cowboys.
appreciate the Rams and the Seahawks being in the Niners division because I feel like they're kind of exposing the Niners for being, content. The Seahawks are ruthless. The Rams are ruthless. The Niners are one big happy family that can't break up because they almost won a couple of Super Bowls. And it just seems more and more ridiculous. You're hanging on to this team that's getting older, that's getting worse, while the Rams get Myles Garrett, and you look yourself in the mirror and say, we could win this division. Get real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get real. And I think
Even the
your fans are
Seahawks.
waking up. I think they realize it, and there's like, where's our move? How can you have 72 million in cap space and not make a move? And I think that's a very legitimate question. And they want you to believe, like, hey man, Parag knows what he's doing, and this is all earmarked for the future. And there's a plan, man. Fuck that plan. The plan is win the Super Bowl while Trent Williams is still good. That's the plan. And I just don't feel like they can look themselves in the eye and say, yeah, we're definitely on track 2026.
There's no
Got it.
chance. Not even with their pride and, Kyle and John's pride and ego that they have, which is, you need some of that to be a successful head coach and GM. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but not even they, with that pride and ego, think that this team is better than the Rams. There's no chance. There is no, not right now. Maybe before the Myles Garrett trade, they thought, okay, the margins, okay, maybe we can, if we can beat McDuffie on a few plays, like if Evans can get some 50-50 balls, maybe. But like now it's like, well, your offensive line isn't good. Myles Garrett's going to sack Purdy about 500,000 times. Jared Verse was good, but he's not Myles Garrett good. I don't know. They're fine just printing money. And again, I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. They might appease the fan base by a Joey Bosa signing. They're not going to trade for Max Crosby. They're not going to trade for, not even a Jonathan Grenard type of player like the Eagles did. At least the Eagles did that. At least the Eagles went in and were like, hey, maybe we'll be competitive with the Rams. I
Yep.
just don't get it.
And there's no move the Niners can make that's as good as this, even if they trade for Max Crosby. Like, this was the best move that could have been made. And I think this is similar. It could be similar to what happened in 2021 when both the Rams and the Niners wanted a new quarterback. They were in the same position. The Rams looked at Goff the way the Niners looked at Jimmy. And the Rams acted faster. They were more decisive. They were more aggressive. They traded 2 firsts and Jared Goff to the Lions for Matthew Stafford. And the Niners were like, damn, he was available? Well, you could do that? So then they turned around a month or 2 later and traded 3 firsts for a pick they ended up using on Trey Lance. So I hope the Niners don't panic and do something really, really, really stupid, but it's too late. I mean, they can't draft someone who's going to be a bust.
Yeah, honestly, I would love for them to even show that they have balls. Just even if it doesn't work out, just trade for Max Crosby. Trade
you got it.
I'd respect them more if it doesn't work out. Like, okay, you reconsider your roster next year or the year after if it doesn't work out. That's worst case scenario. But then your fan base respects you. John Lynch knows he can't draft. That's why. That's part of it.
Here's another thing I want to ask you about. So since you started off this instant reaction putting it on Lynch, and my question to you is, do you think it's as simple as that? Is that
I don't think it's as simple as that. Like,
okay.
York is the problem.
But it's ultimately his responsibility. He's the GM. That's what he signed up for. The credit, the blame.
I will say this. I think that the Niners are not a coaching discrepancy away from beating the Rams. I think that Kyle has not been given, I feel like, as much as McVay has been given, especially recently. I will say that. I think it's more of a John Lynch being a worse GM than Les Snead than Kyle Shanahan being a worse coach than McVay. Because that's my point of it. Like, I feel
like it comes from Jed. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like if Eddie were the owner, at least the Eddie who was the owner in the 80s and 90s, his attitude would have been, oh, he needs to be a 49er. If he's going to be anywhere, he better not go to the freaking Cowboys. I can't deal with that. He needs to be a 49er. And then now the Niners, at least since they got McCaffrey, their attitude is, we're good. We essentially have our core. We can't really fit any more dudes in the private jet to Cabo. I think we're set with our, you know what I mean? We can add in players around the edges, but we have our 6, 7, 8 guys that we're paying, and that's it. Sorry. And I just can't get over that. Like, your core isn't good enough. The core, you never have a core. It's whatever it takes. And the only Super Bowl I remember was 94, and that took a bunch of mercenaries, guys who weren't Niners for life.
Yeah. I think part of it,
and it didn't invalidate it.
York's a big issue too. He just doesn't want it enough. He claims in that press conference, like, we want to be good. I want to be the person who brings this organization back. And they almost did. They almost won a Super Bowl in whatever, but is almost just good enough. Like, I want an owner who is going to go and, like, force the GM to do something. Let John Lynch do what he's actually good at, which is trades. He's good at trades. He's just not good at drafting recently. He's good at trades. Let him do it. Give him the go ahead. Say, hey, Lynch, I want you to trade multiple firsts if you can and go get Max Crosby. Let him work.
You can't blame this on Brock Purdy's contract. Matthew Stafford gets paid more than Brock.
It's not about Brock Purdy.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. I mean, if you really think Brock's that dude, why don't you just go all in and actually, I'm pissed that they're not giving Brock enough help either on that offensive line. Like, they refuse to do that. It starts with that. The Rams know that their offensive line is a little bit better, but it's a weakness of theirs. So they're like, hey, we're just going to, our defense was a big weakness. Let's fix that. And maybe that'll help. I mean, the Niners defense is still, they didn't even get a safety, Grant. They don't have an extra edge rusher. They had a guy who got shot who's coming back. They had 2 guys coming off of serious injuries that aren't going to look like themselves this season.
Yeah,
and they
once
still
again,
don't
the
win.
Niners edge rush completely depends on Nick Bosa for the 7th year in the row. And, maybe he'll be good, but it's not enough, and they know it. And it's like, I don't know, I think the fans know it too, and the whole operation, the parking to the tickets to the whole experience of going to a Niner game and rooting for the Niners is expensive. And these fans follow them around on the road, and they've poured so much money into this quest for 6, and you'd like to think that the Niners would reward them with an equally aggressive financial move, but they're so content because look at the valuation of the franchise. There's really no financial incentive for them to try. I mean, they're rewarded for being like this, and it's fine. Look, if they were the Atlanta Falcons or the Jacksonville Jaguars, you couldn't knock them. But they're the San Francisco 49ers. They're supposed to have this kind of they're supposed to do the things the Rams are doing. Who the hell are the Rams, man? When I was a kid, the Rams were just a terrible team. And now the Rams are the team that gets Myles Garrett and
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey and Matthew Stafford and Trent McDuffie. What? Because they're in LA? There's not how many Rams fans are in LA? 17?
There's way more Niner fans in
Yes.
LA than Rams
It's
fans.
ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I
But
never
they're trying
thought
to build something, and the Niners are profiting off of what other people built before we were born, dude.
I never thought I'd say this. I never thought I would. The Niners are becoming the Dallas Cowboys.
Absolutely.
They just want to sell
Absolutely.
tickets. They
They have
don't
a
care
better head
about
coach.
relevancy.
They have a better system. They win some more games, but ultimately there's no difference. And neither one is a Super
They're not
Bowl in
winning
the
a
last
Super
30
Bowl.
years. There's no real
Exactly.
difference. And
Before
they're
the
super
Niners,
content because they make a lot of money.
exactly. That's what they've become. And guess what? You know what? Maybe they're even worse because at least Jerry had the balls to go and trade for Quinnen Williams, right? To
It's
go and
true.
make big moves. I know he
It's
let
true.
Micah Parsons go, but at least he spent money this offseason. He went and
It's
got
true.
players, right? Like
Yeah,
last
it's not
year.
like he's like, we have a core. We just had some injuries. No, this team doesn't work. Let's try something new.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think they're even worse in the way they're operated than the Cowboys. I never thought I'd be giving Jerry Jones more credit than John Lynch, but that's where we're at. At least at least he can be respected by the Cowboys fans for going all in. If it doesn't work
And
out, it doesn't work
when we
out.
talk about are they going to fire Kyle? Is he on the hot seat? I think the whole context is, dude, it's been 10 years and this team isn't really doing anything. They're just sort of stuck in neutral, and they can say that they have a good team or they're close or they're successful, but we don't see any progress. And we're looking at the Seahawks in your division. They're way younger than you and they've passed you. And the Rams are way beyond you. And you're like, no, we're in a good spot. We're in a good What spot is that? What spot is that? It
I
seems
mean,
like an irrelevant spot in your own division. You're in third. That's where you
yeah,
are.
yeah.
You're in
You're in
third.
third.
You might
And
be a wild card team. You might not. We'll see.
well, they might be able to be better than the Seahawks. They might,
Maybe.
but
Yeah.
there's but they're not better than the Rams. There's already a team unequivocally better than you in your division, and possibly two if you depends on who you ask. And that all depends on Mike Evans being healthy and Nick Bosa having a resurgence year off of a ACL tear, and then Mike Hill coming back and actually being able to do anything as a pass rusher, which he's never shown. So, like, there are so many contingencies just for the Niners to be the second team in their division. And that's the problem. That's the problem in of itself. Not the first. Grant, everything has to go right for them to be the second best team in their division.